Welcome to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Michael Hare. Tune in every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern with co-host Gypsy Jules, and every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Matt Hoffman as we talk to guests, discuss metal detectors, equipment, and everything treasure related. Feel free to join in the discussion in the chat room during the show, and please, if you like what you hear, we'd appreciate you taking a moment, hit that like button, and share the link with your friends. We hope you enjoy the show. The All Metal Mode podcast starts right now.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike here, and you're listening to the All Metal Mode podcast. Hey, Matt, run out and make sure we're on the right show. Make sure I don't have the UK show pulled up, because nobody's in chat yet. Man, I know it should be under the AMM show. Jinkies. Either that or I didn't tell anybody.
No, that could be the case.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, come on, computer. What are you doing?
I'm telling you what, man. It's been a day. Let me tell you. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Oh, hey, and we got somebody in. Thank goodness. Oh, dude, I have been a mess, busy. Steph's been off, which usually allows me a little bit of time. She put me to work. I've been busy. All right, yeah, we got everybody in, but, oh, man, what a day. What a day. All right, everybody's coming in now. There we go. Paul said stoked to hear some Knox talk. Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, my.
Before we get started, check out allmetalmode.com. I've got a couple new articles out there. If you click on if you click on articles up in the navigation, I just put a couple on this week. It'd been a while since I wrote anything with my trip to Ohio and everything. If you're not a member, check out All Metal Mode Facebook group. We are always looking for guest ideas, ideas for shows. Tell us how we're doing, especially if you think Matt's messing up. Please let us know and go out there and talk bad about Matt. We enjoy doing that.
And if you want to fire the actual host of the show, yeah, please let us know. Because
don't tell them to don't tell them to do that, because they will. They'll be like, yeah, we want Mike to go. We need that guy out of there. But yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, tell us how we're doing. Tell us how to change it up. Man, we're always looking for guest ideas. If you got a good idea for a guest or somebody, if you can help us out, man, we appreciate that. Put us in contact with somebody. We'd so appreciate it. I apologize for the prank callers last night. Hopefully no issues tonight, but no guarantees. If it continues, I'll just have to change my number out. Real people are sometimes a real pain, but I was a little flustered last night. Somebody called me today, kind of laughing, like, "Well, you were heated last night." Oh, I was, man. I get, at my age, I grew up in a more of a time where if you had a problem with, even prank calling, kids did it back when they didn't do the stupid stuff kids do nowadays. And boy, if my parents would have caught me prank calling somebody, that blistered my ass, and now you got these kids out of control, man, I'll tell you. But hopefully that's done. If not, we'll get the number changed and won't give it out to everybody. Steve said, I hope you got the kids locked out. Me too, man. They had me pissed last night. But I did get one of their numbers, so if there's any more issues, I've got some things I can do. So, but hopefully no issues. Tonight we've got Noel Miavez, and he is going to be discussing the Equinox 800. I have known Noel for many years. Great guy, knowledgeable. He picks up a detector and learns it. I don't know if if you had anything besides Mind Labs.
I started out with the Ace 250.
Okay.
Other than that, it's been 3 Mind Labs.
Yeah. Noel bought an E-Track off me years ago. Did I sell you a used E-Track?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's a joke.
No,
We
you
had
actually...
I had a guy in chat that was telling people that years ago I sold him a used CTX, but then he told other people that he was he ended up getting another CTX, and he was telling somebody that he paid so much for a CTX he felt like he deserved 2 of them. So evidently, I'm guessing he told MindLab too that I sold him a used one. Although I broke the seal with him, it's got the card in there to send away and stuff for the warranty, but yet I sold him a used one. So that's kind of the running joke. What a jerk. There's always one. But I remember selling you the E-Track and you quickly learning it and sharing some of your settings with me and stuff. And I felt like you really took to it really quick and was a quick learner and stuff. So hopefully you've learned the 800 and you can share a lot with us tonight.
Well, I've learned a lot about it in Northeast Ohio and a little bit in the saltwater of the Gulf of Mexico.
That's
summer.
it?
But,
we're going to have to cancel this show if that's all you've got. No, that's great, man. That's great. So what do you think about it?
So I was a little hesitant about it at first. There's a lot of hype and, just time, a lot of time from the introduction of it. I mean, didn't they have like a parachute and a big to-do about it?
Right.
For Detective All in 2017. And, everyone was really jazzed about it. And when they played around with it in Detective All and it looked neat. It didn't look what I would think a new Mind Lab would look like. It was a little unusual, but then, they talk about how light it was and it's, mid-range price, mainly because Mind Lab set the top of the range price for a detector.
Right.
And then the gap was filled by Garrett with the AT series. It really felt like it was filled by them predominantly because I didn't see much in the way of Fisher and Technetics happening much anymore. And my buddy that I've hunted with for years swung a T2 and did phenomenal with that machine. So, they were. It was basically a direct response to the AT series. It felt like, and so I was really excited about it. And then that excitement faded. By the time it started to come out in 2018, and a good friend of mine that he and I both swung. I don't know the Ace. When we first started, and then he retired and moved down to Florida and started using some saltwater machines, PI, and using the Excal down in Clearwater Beach in Florida. He got his hands on an 800 after using the 3030 as his main saltwater machine for 5 years. And, between the two of us bouncing ideas off of each other with 30-30 for that 5 years and him hunting for 40 to 50 hours a week, we got really good with the 30-30. Loved the machine, It was a good quality build and it felt solid. It was a nice balance. I could swing it all day with the stock coil. And, he got his hands on the 800 and one day I said, hey, I like to hunt with my volume gain down in parks. I want you to go out to the beach, take a target, and throw it down 8 inches and see if you can get any modulation in the target volume. So he took a 2-gram ring, 14K ring out to the beach, dug it down 8 inches, threw it in the sand, and swung it over. And he and I were talking while he was doing it. And he'd swing over it, and it sounded the same as if it was on the surface almost. He's like, it's real loud. And I asked him, what was your sensitivity at? And he had it set to the stock 20, stock beach 2. And I said, keep dialing it back and see if you can get any modulation in the tone volume. And he went all the way down to 14 sensitivity. And he was still able to get an audible signal, and noticeably quieter audible signal at 14 with a 2-gram ring that deep. And I'm like, okay, I got to get on the waiting list for this thing. Because if it can find that ring, maybe I'll find my first gold coin in a park with this thing. You know, dreaming, right?
Right.
Everyone dreams of that gold coin. But no, seriously, I mean, it was an impressive feat, and it was lightweight. And, you know, I take my son with me. He's 12, and he can only swing the 30-30 for like half an hour, you know. And I really, really, really want him to be involved in the hobby so that, you know, when it's my time to go, my collection goes to both my daughter and him. And I want them to understand just how difficult it was to find all this crap that I dug out of the ground, right?
Right.
So it's a lightweight machine. And, you know, the only thing more comparable to the weight and the performance is the dais. And, man, I already got, you know, an expensive machine in the 30-30. Can't convince my my better half to shell out that kind of money for my son. And I just got on the waiting list for the 800. So I waited and waited and waited, and finally got my machine, I think, in April. And I pulled it out of the box, you know, just absolutely thrilled to have it. Put it together. Felt a little wobbly. I got one of the units that they complain about, the shaft wobble at the upper connector.
Yeah.
But it's not a big deal for me on dry land. It drove me nuts when I went to visit friends and family down in Florida. In the salt water, it drove me absolutely batty. But dry land, not a big deal. Arm cuff is uncomfortable. The foam rolls up when you put your arm in it. So the build quality wasn't really. So I was like, oh, okay, you know, it's you got to kind of rob Peter to pay Paul when it comes to, you know, getting the price way down, even below, you know, what they were selling the E-Track and maybe even the Safari. I don't remember the price point on that. But, yeah, you know, I decided the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to a site that I've absolutely hunted like crazy. And I haven't found anything with the 30-30 in quite a long time, both with the stock coil and the 17-inch coil. It's a place that my hunting buddy and I call the Button Farm, because between the two of us, we've probably pulled 40 mid-century 1800s buttons out of it, 6 large cents. My hunting buddy, Matt Bretz, pulled a Flying Eagle, a Union store card out of there. It's just been a really wonderful permission to have over these last 5 years that we've been going there. And I decided to take the 800 there. And the first thing I do, I take it out of the box. And I remember getting really frustrated with the 30-30. First thing I did, I took it out of the box and started changing settings. And you're like, dude, set it back to factory settings, then go hunt and talk to me.
Right.
And I remembered that lesson
Right.
from the 30-30 with the 800, and I went to the site and just hunted with it like it was out of the box. And man, I was digging these crazy small targets, you know, 22 shells, 22 bullet tips, you know, 4, 5, 6 inches deep. And I was digging every non-ferrous target I could get my hands on. And I was finding these these really small buttons. I mean, unbelievably small buttons. There were about 3 of them. One of them was about the size of the fingernail on my pinky. And they were 5 inches deep. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, this is the real deal. So, yeah, I mean, I've been having a really good experience with the machine. It does require more active manipulation is the word I'm going to use than any previous mine lab I've had, where you go out, you noise cancel, and you just start hunting, right?
Right.
This thing, I'm ground balancing this guy because, there's tons of videos out there where people are showing factually that you need to have your ground balance right, or you're going to lose depth, or the coin's just going to disappear in your mineralization. So this machine requires that you ground balance. You can put tracking on, but I'm one of those scaredy cats that is worried that some of the smaller targets are going to get balanced out, or if I set the coil down too long, it's going to put me way out of whack if I put it over a target, and my ground balance starts drifting, if you will.
Right.
So I like to manually ground balance at the beginning. I like to noise cancel at the beginning. And, if I start out in that black, nice, the Northeast Ohio soil, the nice black, loamy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like cutting into chocolate cake, right?
Right.
If I start there and then I'm all of a sudden in kind of rocky clay stuff, I'll go ahead and ground balance again just to see if there's a big difference. And sometimes it'll jump from 11 on the loamy stuff to 22 and that more reddish colored stuff that has some rocks in it. And that seems to make a difference. Yeah. So,
I got a question with the automatic. Does so on that machine? It doesn't. Does it have? You can put tracking on, but does it auto ground balance by itself, or you have to ground balance at some point?
Okay. So, yes, the tracking mode is it changing the ground balance as you hunt. So this has been a question that I've answered a lot on forums for new people to the machine. They have manual where you can sit there and pump the machine and listen to the change in audio and hit the plus and minus and adjust it. Or you can hit the check mark / X button on the right-hand side and pump it, and it'll automatically find the sweet spot while you're pumping it. That's the auto ground balance function. Okay. And then tracking is actually real-time automatic tracking of the ground conditions and changes the ground balance for you.
Okay.
Hey, I want to jump back a little bit real quick. So you've had the E-Track.
Yes.
How'd you like the E-Track?
Loved it. Especially when I like doing permissions because, man, when you make contact with the ball and you really get it over the fence on a permission, right? Because you usually find a bunch of good stuff or really old stuff on the permissions, and there's less screw tops to contend with than when you're in a park. But I don't get a lot of time to detect, 2 kids. I got to take them everywhere because my wife works 60 hours a week, and I'm also a full-time college student. So it's nice to just hop over to the park, you know what I mean? And the E-Track is a phenomenal park machine. That thing is amazing. And, I haven't had an opportunity to use it in many other places other than a park and some front yards. But, I did really well with it. I mean, once I got educated on the machine and started listening to what it had to tell me, I was just pulling Indian heads out of this one old park up in Cleveland like crazy. I couldn't believe it, Now,
what about... go ahead.
No, I was go ahead with the next question.
So what'd you think about the CTX compared to the E-Track?
It seemed like moisture was less of a factor for the 3030 than it was over the E-Track. I understand that ground conditions
hold
like
on,
moisture.
Explain that a little bit.
I was about to.
Okay.
so moisture increases conductivity of targets underneath the ground, allowing for better, conductance of the signal coming from the coil down to the target and back to the coil. And the CTX seemed like, and this is purely anecdotal, it's not an actual scientific experiment or anything, but it felt like I was digging deeper targets in drier conditions with the 3030 than I did with the E-Track. And I sold my E-Track to Matt Bretz, and you were talking about selling used E-Tracks. I feel so bad because his coil finally fritzed out on him, but he and I were hunting in a park one day, and that 3030 was able to hit an Indian at 8 inches in bone dry, like talcum powder conditions, and the E-Track just couldn't hear it. So I like that about
hold
the
on.
3030.
So just so make sure I'm with you. What you're saying is the CTX was less affected by super dry ground.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny
I'm
because
you, Mike.
okay,
I'm hearing you,
yeah,
Mike.
Matt knows exactly where I'm going. So
I'm hearing you.
I had a day with the CTX that man. It was middle of summer, drier than a popcorn fart, and I'm out there digging. I had to use a full size shovel. I mean, like my Piranha. I never did this. But I just got the CTX, and you can't get through this concrete ground. It's so dry. And I dug some of the deepest targets I've ever dug with the CTX. And so I was telling Matt this and stuff, and we talked about it. And I'm talking 10, 11 inches on dimes and wheat penny, Indian head, and I think a couple wheat pennies and 2 Indians, I think. They were all like 9, 10, 11 inches. And I'm telling Matt this. Well, then he goes down. I send him to a place that I've pounded. We were talking about the 15-inch coil and if he could get deeper. And
Yes. Yeah,
and all
absolutely.
this.
Yeah.
And he didn't find anything that day, and he blamed it on the dry ground. And I'm like, so we've had arguments about that on the CTX. And
let me rehash something real quick. Not only did I do poorly, my buddy running the E-Track did absolutely terrible, and the other guy, Scott, did terrible. So it was all threefold there. It wasn't a one-sided operation.
Well, I think what that proves is what an amazing detectorist I am. I think that's all it proves. No, you made my night, buddy. You made my night because Matt's said no, it's affected like the other, and I'm like, dude, my deepest finds all came one day in the ground, the dry ground.
Let me say this. I will agree that I feel like the 3030 does better in ground conditions that are super dry compared to the E-Track. But I would still say it was so dry, that shit was like concrete, man. And I'm telling you, it wanted nothing to do with that. And I couldn't find a target more than a couple inches to save my life.
You know what happened? Your CTX knew I'd already been over it. And it's like, I'm not going to try to let this poor guy dig deep stuff because it ain't there. Mike's already found it with his CTX. So,
I hear you. I hear you.
He's had 22 excuses, including that his. One of the excuses, what it was, his taint was hurting that night or something. You had a taint ache or something. That the ground was too dry. That minerals had been moved in, and they were affected by the humidity of the. Yeah. I mean, there's been 20, but he can't admit that I am that good of a hunter.
You better hope you don't move back to Ohio. I'll find your spots and I'll come pepper them all with pennies.
I'll dig in pennies. I'm poor, man. I'll take them.
Well, I'll pepper them fields with pennies, and then we'll see who's laughing.
Better yet, we'll do Super Bowl Sunday with some Mad Dog 2020, save the screw tops, and go to here.
Yeah.
You guys are wrong. That's just wrong.
I got a nice collection of the whiskey caps that I can gladly lay out in the field for you, Mike.
Awesome.
Oh man, those are the worst in some of these parks up here.
Okay, so I've given Matt enough of a hard time here, so let me say this. I've said this on the show. People have heard it, but I kind of want to take your opinion. I felt like the E-Track was a huge hit. Man, there was such a buzz around the E-Track, a huge buzz, and then
and it felt like everyone in Northeast Ohio had one, and not everyone, but
everybody in Ohio. I feel like I played a huge role in turning Ohio into an E-Track state. I sold so many of them things in Ohio, but what I'm getting at, like, I felt like E-Track was huge. Everybody was just, there was such a buzz. Everybody was finding stuff, posting it all over. I didn't do Facebook back then. I don't even know if Facebook was around, but on all the forums and stuff. And then the CTX came out, and I feel like MindLab took a bad turn. There were a lot of people saying things like, I'm not spending that kind of money. No detector for coins and relics is worth that and this and that. And then you see the AT Pro come out. And, the AT Pro was already out, but you really saw the AT Pro take off, I guess. Then, there was a trend for less expensive detectors. I think MindLab has really hit it out of the park with this. I mean, I'm not saying the CTX isn't popular, that it doesn't have its followers, but nothing like the E-Track had. Not that I seen anyhow. And I think MindLab took a bad turn.
Point too. Mike, you got to understand. You taking a machine. I think if it was priced like the E-Track, they could have got that following. But when you take a machine and you make it $2,500, the market for that drastically decreases.
Right.
And I have to agree with Matt. And let me tell you, if they come out with a CTX 4040 that encompasses the technology that I've come to enjoy in the 800 in this new 4040, as it were, and has the exact same options in that new machine that you have in the 3030 today, I will love that machine because I miss the target trace. I used the GPS function a lot. I've made some beautiful maps over the years of just marking everything that's been a weedy or a button or a buckle or better, and it's just turning into this really, cool map of Northeast Ohio and what I've found and where I found it, my hot spots. And I really miss both of those options. When I go water hunting in the summer when it's too dry to tear up people's lawns, I love being able to look at target trace and say, oh, this is going to be a bottle cap, and I dig it just in case. And it sure as heck, it's a bottle cap because that target trace just scatters those things so wonderfully. You can rely on it as a tool to decide whether or not you want to take the target. And I miss those things very much.
Yeah, but and maybe you would get it, and Matt would get it, and there's other people to get it. But I think I the trend's not at $2,000 plus machines right now. I mean, let me take it off of MindLab a second. The Deus, huge success. Oh, yeah. I guarantee awesome. They are getting
with E-Track.
They are getting pummeled right now with the release of the 800. I guarantee it. The buzz is all about the 800 right now, and those are expensive detectors. They really are. I mean, by the time you add a coil and coils I think are up $400. and all that. And I think people are just really getting away from that. And when you have stuff like the Equinox and the multi-cruiser and the Max and the AT Pro and all that stuff, people are like, I'm not spending that money again. Like, I don't think I would ever spend that kind of money again. Not that I have it, but even if I did, it's ridiculous. But I think they made a really smart move, and, you know, not using one, seeing all the comments and what people think of the 800. Very smart business move on their end. Very smart move, and glad to see it. I think they learned, you know, because I guarantee they didn't have the sales with the CTX like they did with the E-Track. I mean, I'm not saying they did bad, but I know they lost a lot of customers doing that. I mean, there were a lot of people angry at that price tag, you know. I mean, and I get it. I don't think there's a reason to be angry. You move on, you buy something else. But, you know, there were a lot of stuff. I'm sure you remember all that going on when they announced the price tag on that 3030.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I looked at it. I'm like, you know, is it going to show me a picture of the coin as it comes out, before it comes out of the ground? I mean,
right. And, you know, Matt and I have talked about this extensively. I think outright performance, I didn't see a huge increase. There were some things I liked, but like you're talking about the dry ground, I didn't feel like it was as affected as the E-Track. But I felt like, and Matt said this, you know, we felt like we got better target ID and tone on silver coins and stuff than we did with the CTX and stuff. So what I liked about it, the bells and whistles, depend on
the ID at all.
The bells and whistles on the CTX were really awesome bells and whistles, though. You know, first off, waterproof, but you know that GPS, man, that was just a great thing, man. Field hunting, when you're out in the field, it's so easy to get off track. I know a lot of guys sold their ex cows, and were buying CTXs for saltwater hunting. They were doing good in saltwater, but also the GPS. They loved the GPS function and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. We're off on that. We can get back on subject here, but yeah, I was just curious.
Oh, the 800, right?
Or what I say? What I say?
Hold on, before we get back on topic, I want to throw this out there too. I feel like if they could take what I'm seeing with the Equinox, with the 800, if they took the 800 and revised the software and mechanics of the 3030 and gave it the speed that the Equinox has, I'd buy another one all day long.
And the separation. Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
I mean, because I love the target trace feature on the 3030. That is phenomenal. I like having the GPS option on there. I like you be able to track stuff. Like, there's just a lot of cool features that it has that I really like about it. And, you know, I definitely feel like if I was swinging the Equinox, I would miss those. But the E-Track that I felt worked better than the E-Track, I think the tones, be it even in the multi-tone, you know, I still feel like it just had like heavenly fluty tones with the E-Track that were better than the 3030, although I do like the combined mode on the 3030 a lot better too. So I like that quite a bit as well. So especially with the target trace feature, and but yeah, if they could take and make basically a 3030 run like the Equinox, but with them same features it has, holy moly, I'm in all day long.
Okay, hold on here real quick. I want to address Jason Weir's made some, I hope I say that right, Jason, has made a few comments I want to discuss. But also I want to make a prediction. He says the talk is that next year they are going to release a new version of that CTX line at Detectival. Here's my prediction. If they release it and it's over $2,000, they're not going to see the popularity like they have in the past. And I know that there's some hardcore, MineLab people, and MineLab does make a great metal detector, But I mean, it knocks a lot of people out just from the price. They can't. It's not even that they won't spend that much. They can't afford that much. That's my prediction. I don't think it'll do as good as the 3030. I might be way off, but that's my prediction. Jason also said Deus is really losing out tremendously. Just look at all the used models offered out there. Yeah, I've heard some guys picking up some really good deals. He said, that Deus is working hard to gain back their ground. Get ready, it's coming sooner than later. I believe that. They are a very innovative, good company. There's no doubt in my mind that they're working hard at it. And so, yeah, I'm excited. But I think, my prediction is anybody that comes out with a $1,500+ detector, I don't think, at least not for that thing better be amazing. It better do things that we've never seen before. That thing better tell you it's a silver dime at 1.5 feet deep. Really, if people are going to, because there's just too much out there in the $500 to $2,000 range. There's way too many good detectors, too many good choices out there that I just don't think any manufacturers are going to come out with something over $1,500 and have great success. And like I said, unless it is revolutionary, it is, stuff we've, technology we have not seen yet. Because, let's face it, every new detector that comes out, it's deeper, it's better, it's faster. But you can still go back to an AT Pro that's been out, how many years? Probably pushing 10 years. And you can still get the job done. Great. That AT Pro is still relevant at $500. So, I understand the idea. People want the latest and greatest, but I just don't see people spending that kind of money again. I could be wrong. My prediction. What's up, guys? Let's get back on it.
I will.
Oh, yeah, you will. You can afford it. There's guys like you who will.
That, I just will, because I will.
Mm-hmm.
Who is, did you see my text, Mike?
Your text?
Kick him out. Yeah, kick him out.
Oh, do we got somebody causing trouble?
Throw Triple G out because they're starting to piss me off.
Oh, I was busy talking. Sorry.
Well, must stand for triple gay.
Yeah, triple gay.
Thank you.
Issues, man, these kids. That's all right. I got both their phone numbers. I got 2 of their phone numbers, so that's cool.
So,
yeah, Jason said they can only get deeper and more accurate from here on out. It's the only direction left. Yeah, but, you look at the last 10 years, you look at the last 20 years, there's really, man, there's nothing that's been leaps and bounds. I'm sorry. There's been, they've gotten faster. They have gotten a little deeper. There's been improvements, but there's not really been anything that's come out on the market that I feel has just blown everything else away.
Let me ask you this, Mike, real quick. Do you really want something that's going to really go beyond 12 inches in Neema's front yard? I don't think she's going to want you to dig the china in her front yard anyways. It's while it would be great for field hunting, that's a niche market. I think we're, looking at people that get permissions, go into people's yards, do yard coins, go to parks, and you don't really want to draw too much attention.
You want that capability, but there shouldn't be any 12+ inch deep coins in Mamaw's yard either. I think if you want to really do great, stable VDI, great tones, the E-Track. There are guys. I can't say my ears were ever quite there who could tell the difference between clad and silver. I think you were one of them. Work on ID, work on separation, work on mineralization. There's still
Right. Yeah.
There's still places where most detectors struggle hardcore. Virginia, even, the mine land, all of them really struggle in that really mineralized soil. Work on some of those things, but yeah, depth, for field hunting and everything else. And just because you see it at 12 and a half, 18 inches in Mammal's yard doesn't mean you have to dig it. But wouldn't it be nice to know, hey, look at that, and 18 inches and you know it's a coin?
Right. But I think right now, I don't disagree with VDI, but I think right now separation is a huge factor, especially when we're in these trashy parks and we want to cherry pick,
Right.
I mean,
but
man,
separation doesn't do you any good if the
different.
VDI and tone isn't stable. If you can't pick that
tone
good target out of
media.
that other stuff, you're not. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I hunt by ear, and stable VDI isn't a huge factor for me personally, but I know it is for a lot of folks. I want something repeatable, and then when I turn 45 degrees on it, if it's still repeatable and gives me the same audio, then I'm in, and I dig it out.
You're talking about a mine lab, though. The audio is more reliable than a lot of other detectors out there. I mean,
okay,
the T2, you were talking about that. I talked about it last night. One of the things I hate about that detector is everything sounds like a grunt to me. It's a grunt, and then you can't trust the VDI. The VDI is all over the place. I never could get with the tones. The depth gauge was absolutely, I found it worthless. But
I do on the 800.
I did a lot of park hunting with that thing and yards and stuff. I just don't think the T2 was really cut out for that. I've talked to guys like in Virginia and oh Jesus, I'm back again. But
oh Jesus.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I think that's I know we got way off on the topic, but I think that's more important than. Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying with the 800. I've heard it's got real similar tones to the E-Track and CTX. They were real reliable tones where I've used a lot of detectors that don't have that. They don't have, so you better give me more stable VDI. And I want tones and VDI. So
and the tones on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was going to say, I like tones and VDI. Now, I generally, with the 30-30, I'm mostly listening at tones and the depth at which something is, which unfortunately causes me to miss some of the shallower targets that could be good. A lot of times I'll pass them up because I just don't like digging stuff that's, really shallow. Unless, if it's a shallow quarter, I might dig it. But, I'll miss shallow Indians unless I'm really trying to, if it's an old place, I'll clean it out. I'll eventually get them. But I think the depth, much past 10, 12 inches, I don't think there's that much stuff really down there. I find a handful of stuff a year that is way down in the ground. So I think if they could work on the separation, on if anything, like just the separation in itself would be, amazing because, like I said, obviously, if I took the separation that let's say the Rudis alder has, for the way that that's laid out and incorporate something like the speed that machine can separate targets and tell you if it's a good one or a bad one, basically. If they can, I would love to have the 30-30, just a faster machine. And that would be so amazing to me. Does the Equinox, and this is what I'm wondering, does the Equinox can you? Do they have like a volume gain, like the E-Track and the 3030 have?
No.
So, no, and it's the biggest. So I was about to get to that when we were talking about things that I missed from the 3030, other than the GPS and the target trace, and that is the volume gain. Because massaging that volume gain on the 3030 could make the difference between you being able to discriminate by volume. From 4 inches, they all and to the surface, they all sound the same, right? But after 4 inches, they start to sound different, and it results in you being able to discriminate by depth just by cruising along, taking in the scenery, and listening to the tones, right?
Yeah.
And that is difficult to do with this machine because it's a lot more subtle, it's fixed, but it does have variation by depth in the volume of the tone. And the way you accomplish it, and this is one thing that I really wanted to talk about with the 800, and to a degree has been talked about as heresy by some people, and other people's adopting it and really getting in on it. But it's not hunting with that machine as high in sensitivity as you can stable. And what I mean by that is I hunt in a park with high trash at 16 sensitivity and still pull targets 8 to 9 inches, no problem. And it's kind of an odd feeling at first because you're like, what am I missing? Do I need to bump it up to 20 so that I can make sure I'm not missing anything? But then you get reassured after you pull a wheat at 8 inches or an Indian head at 9, and you're like, okay, all right. So really trashy, I'm down at 16. When it lightens up, I'm at 18. And if I don't hear any iron grunts, because I hunt in all metal mode, I'll go as high as 20. But that's as high as you really need to get with this machine. It's crazy. And if you bump it all the way up to 24, like I tried one time at the Button Farm, man, I was pulling such small stuff that my pinpointer, I was hitting off of stuff that I couldn't find with my pinpointer. It was really, really frustrating. You know what I mean? And it was probably, birdshot or something, knowing the history of this farm. And, dialing back that sensitivity and being active in adjusting the sensitivity as you're hunting based on trash density has really, really opened up this machine for me. And man, I tell you what, when you're down at 16, there is a very serious audio difference between something at the edge of the machine's capability at 16 sensitivity than there is at 3 inches deep. And I'm still having trouble, even after the update, having some difficulties with the depth gauge. I feel like, after the update, and this may be because we're super saturated in Ohio right now, but I feel like my VDI is less stable, and I feel like the depth gauge is still inaccurate.
See, that's one thing I'm surprised with all these MindLab users. Love
Reading comments.
I gotta, now I gotta stay in the room and delete messages from some little idiot. But one of the things that I loved about the E-Track and the CTX was the depth gauge was dead on for coin-sized objects, and that came in real handy. The site that we talked about earlier that Matt hunted, I found over 40 silver coins out of there. And they were all 6 inches or deeper. Now, that's not to say I didn't dig shallower targets. Matter of fact, I dug a ton of them at 4 and 5 inches. You want to make sure you don't get, but I knew when I hit 6 inches, that was kind of my cutoff. And so many E-Track and CTX users have now moved to the 800, and it surprises me I haven't heard more complaints about that, because between that and not having the volume gain so you can hear those deeper, that those targets are deeper, I'm really surprised more people aren't upset about that.
Well, I was beating my chest when it came out. I wanted to know, does it have volume gain? Does it have volume gain? I was talking to beta testers. Hey, is there variation in volume on targets? And maybe there is it's more pronounced after the update. I don't know if they have a volume gain hard set in the software, but I was really able to pick out deeper targets these last couple of hunts since I've done the update. I mean, I had this foil target. It was ringing in 9, but in this park that I was in, I dig anything if it was deep, and it was repeatable, but it was so soft and mellow sounding. It wasn't harsh like a shallow target, and it was repeatable all the way around 360 degrees. So I popped open the plug, and there it was, 7 inches deep, weighing in at 2 grams, including the stones, a little 10-karat gold ring. And I couldn't believe it.
So it's like the gain's built in.
It is built in. It can't be manipulated by the user, which is really unfortunate.
So the gain's a function of the sensitivity then, as far as your volume gain is a function of your sensitivity. So you're saying
no.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is.
Oh, I got you. So yeah, okay.
Okay. Let me give, so just in case there's no confusion to all your listeners out there, let's take a wheat penny at 6 inches with 20 sensitivity. It's going to sound the same as a wheat penny at 3 inches when you're at 20 sensitivity. Now, you take your sensitivity and you dial it back all the way to 14. And the reason I know this to be true is because I've done it on a target in situ. I dialed it all the way back to 14, and it started to sound very, very different and much quieter as you get your sensitivity down. Okay, so I had a target at a farm that I had been detecting for a long time with a 30-30, and I finally got something that was deep enough that I sat there, and I just started tapping it back until it got really, really quiet, and I could barely hear it anymore. It was all the way at 14, and out popped a 1920s wheat penny at 6 inches. And it was able to hit it at 14 sensitivity. And that's when I made in my mind, hey, I'm going to try it at 16. And I'd been hunting at 16 ever since, because it's like driving in the fog with high beams on. You have a lot of trash. It's going to reflect all that light right back at you, and it's just not really productive, So I dial it back, A, to get better volume variation in targets, tones, and B, because depending on soil conditions, the halo effect on iron pieces in the ground can really mask targets if you've got your machine screaming into those halos that are created when the ground gets wet and then dries, and wet and then dries, right? And you get that iron that you can actually see when you pull the plug open. You're like, oh, well, there's a piece of iron that I'm about to find, right? So, you dial it back. You dial it back, and I hunt anywhere between 16 and 18. And a lot of people are shocked by that. And some people still fight me on it, but that's okay. That's their prerogative, that they spent the boatload of money on the machine. They can use it any which way they want,
Mm-hmm. So you've found, what you're saying is you found a workaround to not having that gain was still getting good.
Correct.
Yep, I gotcha.
Decent depth, yeah, decent depth. I mean, Mr. Hoffman sent me out to a park that he's hunted ad nauseum, and I hunted in that because there's some really, really quiet areas in that park. It's kind of spooky, actually, not getting a whole lot of noise. And I bumped it all the way up to 18, and I dug my first ever pocket watch. It was brass with none of the interior innards of it, but at 18 sensitivity, 13 inches deep, there was the pocket watch sitting there in the bottom of the hole. I just was blown away.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I like that. This is interesting to me because I I feel like knowing this now, that won't turn me away from, because I definitely need to pick up an Equinox, and knowing that you can hear the difference in depth by, as a function of a function of your sensitivity. That's right. Definitely good information.
And now, so another thing I wanted to bring up is, since I'm less trusting of the depth gauge, I'm not saying it's completely useless. It's bang on for nickels for some reason. I mean, it's spot on. And I like to take the coil up off the ground, and if it's only an inch to 2 inches that the signal completely disappears, I know I got a deep one. You know what I mean? So I just lift the coil up a little bit, like you would with my kid's Tesoro, and just to see how deep it is.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's nice. I like that. So you're saying a lot of guys. I'm guessing because Matt's one of these guys. Matt feels like he has to run everything on the ragged edge, and and most people do. But what you're saying is turn it down. You can kind of get that volume gain adjustment, still get good depth, but you can make those deep targets more faint. Bro. Right. And
now I haven't had an opportunity to hunt with it in the dry season yet, so I can't tell you how it behaves. I've not gone out 10 times this year now. Thanksgiving was number 10. And in 4 of them have been in the last month, and it's extremely wet up here. And then I did some beach hunting, and I got to tell you, this thing's amazing on the beach. In the dry sand, I picked up a silver lobster claw, had to use a sifter to find it, my kid's sifter to find it. It sounded so nice. You know what's going to cure you from running on the ragged edge of this thing is digging every single small target that sounds amazing, little rivets off of jeans. If you're a beach
hunter, that's the problem I have with the Impact. That thing's so sensitive, and I'm a sensitivity junkie, and I like to crank it, and I'll be digging stuff that's microscopic, and it takes me forever to find it.
Try dialing it back with that machine and see if it becomes a better behaving machine for you. It might be a symptom of the same problem that I had with the 800, hunting at 20 and 22 sensitivity. In your buddy Calabash, Mike, he likes to do these nail and board tests, and
which is ridiculous. They're ridiculous.
Well, hang on. He was doing a nail and board test, and he had the sensitivity at 20. And, he's like, the nail's masking the dime. And he's got comments disabled. And I wanted to tell him, hey, dial back your sensitivity so that, both targets aren't screaming back at the machine, and do the same test. I bet you're going to get better results. Okay.
So he's one of those guys. That even explains it better. Look,
now,
man.
I haven't watched the video yet. He put a Nocta video up tonight. I can't wait to watch.
I don't care. I've heard
a really good bed. I love his test. What?
Oh, dude.
He's got a great.
I like the screen name though. That was pretty good.
Yeah, dude.
That's so stupid. So stupid. People are so stupid. Paul wants to know, do you run always in multi? I mean, can you switch that to single frequency?
You sure can, and there's only been one time I've been in single frequency. It's when I was under some high-tension power lines, and I could not, for the life of me, get multi to work. I switched to 5K and cleaned it right up. Now, the VDI is way different in the single freak than it is in multi. It's more accurate in multi.
Does that machine have? Let's say I know on the Impact and and I think on the Cruiser as well. You have if you switch from when you switch just frequencies. Now you only have a single frequency, but you can go 5, 14, or 20. if you switch, you can do normalized or standard mode for how you want the VDI output readout to show. So in a normalized mode, doesn't matter what the frequency is, it'll use the IDs from the 14 kilohertz frequency.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not experienced that, and with this machine, it's the same VDI across the board.
Okay.
Awesome.
But
right.
I do hunt in multi almost exclusively, and it's really, man, I've never found a gold ring in a park, and in the last 4 hunts I found 2. They're both tiny as all get out, though. I mean, one's 2 grams, and the other one is probably less than 2 grams. I've never weighed it. It's so brittle. I'm trying to leave it alone. But it's deep. It's old. It's got a crust on it from being so far down in the ground for so long. But hey, I want to say thank you for having me on. I gotta put the kids to bed here and get back to working on these papers. But I'm gonna keep listening to y'all online and get back to work on writing my paper.
Good times, man. Get your schoolwork
done.
No,
before you go, I just want to say that Mr. Bretz and myself, man, that was a beautiful 2-cent piece he found today. I did get a 55 largie, and we pulled some flat buttons, but it was. You gotta. I think schoolwork should be second to metal detecting.
For sure.
For sure. And I'm so close to getting my master's. Thanks, though. I really appreciate that. But what kind of site was it today? Was it another home site, field, or park?
We were hunting in a field.
Oh, okay, cool.
Paulito said thanks, Noel.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great night.
Wait, before you go, don't leave yet. I got one more quick question.
Yeah.
How's the battery life on that machine, and how long does it take to charge it back up?
So I use the fast charger that my phone came with, because they provide you with the cables, but they don't provide you with the plug.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds kind of weird. It's just you use the USB charger that came with me.
Common.
And so I use the fast charger for my my phone, and man, it charges up quick, and it still had 2 bars left on the battery indicator after 5 hours at 27 degrees on Thanksgiving.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I've never run it out. So, and it's pretty easy to charge.
Good deal.
Okay, I'll let you go now. I'm good.
All right, guys. Have a good night. And
you too. Thanks for coming on.
Me. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, there you have it. You got anything you want to talk about, Matt?
No, I just, I definitely think I would. I'm gonna pick up an Equinox real soon. I might wait till the springtime, just because at this point in the year, I mean, hell, I don't know. It was about 26, 28 degrees. I was out all day today. Well, not all day. I was out for a good 3-4 hours today, detecting, and I don't see. I mean, I'd love to go out and buy one right now. Of course, my wife probably won't be happy if I do that. And, I don't need to be any more trouble than I usually am. So I might wait till the springtime, but I'm definitely going to get the impact. I mean, it really intrigues me. I love the 30-30, but I did get to see the speed of Equinox. Sorry. I did get to see the speed of that machine. And, I've been willing to be made a believer. I mean, I'm excited about the workarounds for the lack of having a volume gain directly, because that's one thing on the 30-30 that I absolutely love. I mean, especially in a trashy park, if you can get through there and just listen for some of them deeper ones. Sure, you might miss some shallower stuff that's good, but when you can listen for them deeper ones and just cruise right through some stuff. That's amazing. So that definitely would be very exciting. But I don't know. I'm going to buy an Equinox, and I don't know that it'll become my go-to detector, but I'll tell you right now, if they put out a machine that's got the speed and separation ability that the Equinox seems to have, but give it all the other features that the 3030 has, I'm going to be the first person on the list to buy one, I'll tell you that.
You just got all talking to your mic, man.
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
Turned your head or something.
I did.
I think it's a good time to wrap it up and be done for the night. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm tired of pranking you all night long too.
Right? What a jerk! What a jerk! Yeah. Paul asked, so send it in or dealers can do it. Paul, I've heard that. Actually, I heard you. Well, and I've also heard you can do it yourself. That can easily be taken apart and replaced. I don't know. That has not been confirmed, but I've heard that's.
Well, yeah, but you probably got to get your hands on the battery. Are you talking for the battery?
Yeah. You'll have to buy a battery.
But will they? See, that's one thing I don't know. Like, will they sell that, or will that only be available to dealers? And then you'd have to send it in. I'm not sure on how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Yeah, warranty. Yeah, right. Warranty might get be voided. I'm not sure, Jason. No clue. We'll have to see, but hopefully, I don't know. That's something that was one of the things I wasn't a big fan of, because if you know MineLab, been around MineLab much, their repairs and stuff are not cheap, man. So if that goes out of warranty and you need it replaced and you got to send it in, that's going to be costly. But if it happens 5 years, after the warranty's out, if it happens after, you might as well change it yourself if you can save yourself a boatload of money. I hear it's really simple.
Well, and if they get, and I'm sure that someone, in time will have some aftermarket battery that's available for that either way. So if your warranty's up either way, I guess it wouldn't matter.
I guess there's already a battery. I from my understanding, it's like a standard battery. You can already buy one and put it in yourself.
Oh, really? Wow.
From what I understand, yeah. From what I hear. So we will see. Let's cut out of here. I'm obviously going to have to work more on my issues, because I'm still having issues here. Yeah,
and I promise, Mike, I'll stop pranking you all night long.
Good job.
Funny. It's a little silly, but it was somewhat funny.
Right, right.
Oh my God!
It's that these kids had. When I was that age, man, I was out chasing girls and stuff. Here they're just playing video games and think it's hilarious that they're screwing with the show, but they're not going to get through, and I'll delete them when they come in, so they're just wasting their time. I mean, that's fine. Keep wasting your time, dummy. That works for me. Whatever. Okay, let's wrap it up, and thanks to all the listeners. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Say goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a great evening, everyone.